either a developer or a DBA, or as is frequently the case in most Microsoft shops, both. And we're going to talk today about two particular products they have. Hyperback, which they just purchased. It was an independent company for a while, which is a backup compression tool that was created by the original creators of SQL Lightspeed, which I think is a Quest product now, if I recall. And it's got some really compelling reasons why you should use it, even before the latest edition that came out, which will cover a lot of functionality there. And we'll also talk about their newly released source code product, which has been a gaping hole, really, in the SQL Server development market, even with Team Foundation Studio and Data Dude and things like that being out there. I think there's a lot of places they can take the product that are really going to make a difference. My name is Kevin Bowles. I don't have a slide about myself because this is more about Redgate. But one thing I will say, I'm an MVP for SQL Server, so here's a little bingo card to win that netbook in the drawing this afternoon. I can sign off the MVP part for you if you haven't gotten that yet. Just an independent consultant, just do the relational engine stuff. And if you're interested later this afternoon, I've got a SQL Server memory deep dive. If you're anything deep into the relational engine and what you can do with it and how it kind of does some of the stuff, you might want to join that. Hyperback, the product here is its basic functionality, if you will, although it's something that's a bit more than basic, is backup compression and backup encryption if you desire. And obviously with terabyte size plus databases being kind of the standard now for a lot of SQL Server instances, if you can compress your backups, you're saving I/O, which means you're going to be saving your time. Also, if you need to then back up that off to, say, tape or some other kind of archival storage, you need to move it over the wire to over a WAN to a test or a dev system and things like that. You're going to want to do that. Now, SQL 2008 has it built in for Enterprise Edition, which most entities don't actually pay for, at least that I know of. And this is just a per server license. The good thing about this, and what differentiates it from the other products in the marketplace, such as Lightspeed, is that it is a Windows File I/O filter. It doesn't run as an extended stored procedure, which is what the other mechanisms are based on. So if you go to my memory deep dive, you'll find out why that extended stored procedure is bad, especially in 32-bit environments, which a lot of us are still on, maybe because we haven't had an upgrade cycle due to the economy, or we haven't had a situation where we've got a third-party vendor product that isn't supported yet on a 64-bit system or a newer version. So this running as a filter driver, it intercepts the read-writes to and from the file system. So it avoids the problems that come with extended stored procedures. Obviously, you've got size issues. You can back up native to zip if you want. If you look here at the control panel for it, you can see basically you can have it watch for extensions on the writes. And if you do a backup that says I'm a .hbc instead of .bak, which is the normal backup extension, it's going to compress it. Or you could call it something like HBC2, which might be compressed. So if you're have a need for a secure environment, you can do encryption as well as compression, which could be very important for some environments out there. And another thing that it can do, and this is a new feature, is what's known as virtual restore, which means that you can attach, if you will, restore the compressed backup file and interact with it directly as a database. Read-write. And that's the thing that really is going to rock the world. One other thing here that's important, because it's a native T-SQL, which you'll see in the demo I've got, you don't have to jump through hoops to make things like log shipping work, because it's just backup database to disk equals and restore database from disk equals. And that because of that, the log shipping Works right out of the box because you don't have to deal with the extended store procedures. So the virtual restore, though, it mounts the compressed backup without having to expand it back out. Because it intercepts and translates the reads and writes to that file. Now you can have your terabyte-sized database that compresses down to, say, 80 or 100 gig, which, I can put that on a laptop. And you get real query plans, real data amounts. You can troubleshoot actual production stuff on a system that is much less capable, but still see the actual stuff that is in the production database. So that is really, and you can do the read-write, so you can modify it, so you can restore your production system to data and actually interact with it in a compressed manner. And another thing that is really important about that is you can now run CheckDBs much more efficiently and offline against the direct backup file to make sure that your database, your production database, is consistent. Instead of crushing the I/O on your production 24/7 system, you can run it against a copy or a backup to verify that you've got a system. So we'll talk about the source control, and then we'll go through the demos that I've got. So I want to make sure we get the information out, and if you run short on time, if you miss some of the demo stuff, at least you'll know what most of the main features and compelling points are. So here we've got Team Foundation Server or Subversion. Okay, this is a 1.4 or 5, 1.04 or 1.05 product, so it's relatively new to the marketplace. And as we all know, when you put out a 1.0 product, it's not going to have all of what you'd want to bake into it, just because you need to get it into the marketplace to start building some momentum and inertia, and to get it in front of users like yourselves so that you can start providing feedback so that they can continue to enhance the product as the life cycle evolves. So they've got it out there. These are the only two systems for the base source control systems that they can mount to. There are others that they are working on, and I think you can actually go and vote for what, if you use, like I'm a Vault person, SourceGear Vault. If you use Vault in your environment, you might want to go and vote for that to say, I use Vault, and that might move it up the priority chain for them to determine what stuff they're going to bake into the product next. Currently, though, it really is very nice because it natively integrates with Management Studio, which a lot of us use to do our development. And there's some really nice things where it will actually give you little visual indicators that this stored procedure or this function has been modified or altered. You can show lists of what needs to be committed. You can go through and say roll back or integrate those changes. And you can see the things before you say commit this out. And if you integrate this system with something like Redgate's SQL Compare, now you've got a really good system that works together in concert to make those changes, move them forward or backwards throughout your environment. Now, I'm going to do the demos now, and we'll look at some of the things that they have already learned that they want to put into the product or that they're working on, and some of the things that are very standard that you might want to do that they've got some workarounds for. And I'm going to see if I can get this loaded up to the SQLSat28 website. If I can't get it put there, like the presentations, the regular presentations are, just send me an email, and I'll forward it on to you so you can see the workarounds that you might have and things like that. So one thing I want to show you is just a quick walkthrough of the product. You install it, which is very, very quick. It's a small install package. It goes in as a SSMS add-in. And you can see from the setup, you pick a database and you say create a new link to source control. I'm using Subversion, and it will use that Tortoise SVN as its source control. And by linking the database, it creates the necessary stuff under the covers in Subversion through the Tortoise system. So that looks like the original after you install it. You pick the database and you create a link to the engine, which basically snapshot your source control. You pick a path that you want to do for where you want the storage of the source control system to go. And when you first do it for a database, all the objects, it will script them out and ask you, do you want to commit them? So here we've got the commit tab for the source control product within SSMS, and you can see these are all new because this is the initial installation of, or mapping, if you will, of the database structures to the source control system. So you can see here what the scripts are, and there's nothing on the other side because it obviously hasn't been modified yet because this is the first edition of the objects. Now, if you do make changes, note that it's green to show that this one is under source control. So again, I'll show you some other visual cues that you're going to have within your product, SSMS, to see what's going on. And you can actually see within SSMS diffs of what the changes are. And I'm sure we've all used things like WinDiff and other comparison tools to see this. So we're used to this interface to say what are the changes between Rev A and Rev A plus 1 or whatever your versioning scheme is. And again, you can choose to commit or not per object, and that will drop it down to Subversion or Team Foundation Server as you go through and say commit. Now, you can also use the Subversion repository to see what's in there. And this is my Redgate SVN, and I've got a copy of pubs with some special stuff. And if I show log here, see, I can see that I've got 2 changes to that stored procedure. And note you can attach messages to them, so you can do intelligent things there. And if I say compare revisions, now I've just used the Subversion tool to see current and prior versions of a stored procedure. Now, this is one of the things that is not in the product within SSMS at this time. You can't say show me history of an object that's in source control within SSMS. That is something that they are working on because obviously that's something that's very important to us as developers. So, but then again, here is a workaround, and I think that's why they decided to let that be a version 1.x type release, because there's something that allows you to do that now, i.e. the Tortoise SVN repository viewer. Yes?
What's the workaround in Team Foundation Server? Go through the Source Explorer?
To be honest with you, I have never used TFS in any manner. So, but I assume if it's a standard source control system, there's probably a right click somewhere and a show history somewhere that will give you versions, and you can pick one or maybe 2 versions before, do a diff, and it will show you between version 1.6 and 1.4 what the changes were. So, but let's look here. I've already associated pubs with the product, and right now I don't have anything that's actually checked out or modified by a developer. So I've changed this copy of my report Q1, and I've got rid of the KGB underscore here, and I'm just going to compile that. And note that it automatically has flagged the necessary elements visually to see that there's been some change with that. So now I can go back to my tab for source control, and it shows me, aha, somebody changed report Q1. What do we need to do with that? And down here below is where I can now see the current and source coded version of that particular object with a diff, just like we're all used to. See, KGB, I just got rid of the KGB underscore. Okay. So what if I say, oops, I really didn't want to do that. You know, that shouldn't have been compiled here. It should have been in, you know, a different database or something like that. Then I can go, and obviously, you know, it's Microsoft GUI. Right-click on everything just to see what pops up, right?